Oh, yes. And I have just muted myself. So unmuted myself. And I'm sure that's what somebody in the chat just said to me. Yes. Thanks, Karen. So let's start this over. I don't know why I mute the microphone before I start, but I'll show you what happens here. Okay. You see my microphone? Right there. Now, if I go like this to clear my, it tells me I'm muted because it's red, but then I forget to look at it again. So thank you, Karen, for telling me that right off the bat. And hello, everyone. I think I just said welcome to everyone. Thank you for showing up to this webinar, and love doing these every Saturday with you all. And today we're going to be talking about vitamin K, something that we all kind of know about vitamin K, especially probably vitamin K2. We might know about vitamin K because you're on a medication, maybe perhaps that you can't have vitamin K, or you know somebody who can't, and all of the dietary restrictions that brings. But anyway, before I delve into that, I'll introduce myself briefly. I am Rebecca Becky Montrone, have a practice here in Keene, New Hampshire, called Wondrous Roots. Wondrous Roots. And I am a holistic health practitioner with a degree in holistic nutrition, but I'm also an herbalist. So love to, coming from a long family history of pharmacy in my background, my dad being a compound pharmacist, and actually his father before him, back in the day when a lot of things had to be compounded. We have just kind of naturally came by that love of medicine. Mine's all botanical medicine, and figuring out how to put things together for different health problems, or to prevent, or just to increase wellness. And that's always really great, because then that can prevent, right, the things that we don't like that do happen to come on. So thank you. Yes. And just had a thank you, good morning from Vitaly. And I just want to say to everybody, if you want to participate in this session, you just, if you want to say anything, you can raise your hand and I'll answer you. If you can type in the chat like those two just did, and you can go to the Q&A and put in a question and answer kind of thing, and I'll answer, right here on audibly. So we are located, Wondrous Roots, here on the third floor of the Miller Forge building on Roxbury Street, which is right downtown. We have plenty of free parking for those of you who are local and would be coming here. Handicap access, elevator, the whole thing, and right up to the third floor coming off the stairwell or the elevator. Our door is open when we're open, and we're right there. And then I would also like to say that I guess that's my co-pilot coming on. That's Dale. He sits in the background, but had to turn his video off. What else did I want to say? Yes, so we're open. When the door is open, and just come on in. And we are open 9:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. Those are our open store hours. And I book appointments with people separately from that. I mean, it's usually, hopefully, within store hours, but often it's not, because people are working or whatever. So we'll do like an early evening or very late afternoon. So, but you can reach out to me for scheduling those appointments. Okay, the number here is 603-439-2603. Again, on Mondays through Fridays, 9:30 to 5. You can also reach out to me from my website, wondrousroots.org, and I will get back to you. Those messages come to my private email and nobody else sees them. What else did I want to say? Yeah, my new web design is up, and several people have already commented about it. It is really much more fun, do I want to say? I know what I'll do. I'll share it with you. Let me share my screen. I'll pull it up and I'll show it to you for those of you who have not seen it. Let's go to shopwondrousroots.com and share my screen. Let's see. Whoops. Do this quickly. You should be able to see it. I'll wait till the little green bar comes up and says that I'm screened, so you can see it now. So if you're used to my store before, I can't show you that because it's not there anymore. It's this, but this is much more, I think it's much more user-friendly, right? So instead of before I just had, you can shop by categories and you'll see the things we used to see, right? You can do that over here. You know, go to M&M, you know, let's see, let's do that again. You know, you can see the different ones and you go to those. Say we go to, let's go to brain health, and then you'll see, you know, the products come up that I've categorized there. So there's that. You can shop by categories, but then down here, you can also shop by the categories like this, right? You can just keep sliding. And that's, to me, a lot, I don't know, more obvious. So, you know, we would do adrenal health support, suppose. And so you've got different products in there for that particular thing. Now let's go back. This, I believe, is a banner that I can change, you know. Parts of this, this design was done by, you know, a company that does these designs. But I'm the one who, you know, changes all the photos and this and what I want to put in categories and all that kind of thing. There are a couple of areas, and we'll go back to the videos. There are a couple of areas here. There's one area, this one, that I don't have control over. This is what they call static, which means I wouldn't have to know HTML to change those things. But the designers are doing that. I wasn't pleased with this part because these are not my trending now things. I gave them 10 categories with 12 products. I did that this week, and I'll have that on Monday. So these are all going to change. But, you know, it's kind of like you'll click on them and you'll see 12 products that contain to certain things. And mine are like brain health, anti-aging. Oh gosh, I won't go through the whole list, but 10 of those different things that, anyway, so that's the new deal. The other thing is you can catch videos right here. You can see those, and then you can go to view all, and it will take you to the Wondrous Roots YouTube. So you can see these programs. And then you can also go down here and you will see my blog. So this I'm going to be taking a lot more advantage of. I love to share information. That's why I do this program. That's why I'm so jazzed with being able to get information out. I've only done 2 blog things there on Indium Lurong, but I will be doing populating that very soon and very prolifically because I have a lot of things to say. And then you'll be able to see them all there. So I plan to do things like on glutathione, right? On glutathione and cancer, on glutathione and autoimmune conditions, or glutathione and sleep, or, you know, so those kinds of things. Or then want to be talking about vitamin K. So there'll be like a blog in there. There'll be a blog in there about that, or all of these other things I talk about. And it's a nice one-stop area to go to get more than products, to get stuff from me that's informational. And that I always wanted from my website. Can sign up to subscribe. You can follow us on Facebook, here, YouTube. So anyway, I'm super excited about that. And anyway, I think it's going to be, well, it's really great for me. I mean, I'm just tickled. So, and I have had feedback that it's, somebody told me this week, this just got unveiled on Wednesday, November 1st. So that it was much easier to find what she was looking for. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go back and share my screen one more time. I want to show you this since I'm on the topic before I get going. This is, okay, so we're back there again. This search bar is fantastic because you can misspell. So this is a particular app that I pay separate. I pay for this. Most search bars that come with websites are not like this. So you can start to say GL at thione, right? You misspelled it, but you still get it. A lot of search bars aren't like that if you don't spell it exactly. And when it comes to the types of things on our website, spellings can be really difficult, is all I'll say. So anyway, that's my thing on that. Super excited about it. So I'm going to clear my throat. I'm going to hit this button and then I'm going to remember to hit it. Okay, that didn't work, did it? All right, now I've got to pull up my newsletter. And if you're watching for the first time, maybe you caught me on YouTube and you don't even have never met me before and don't know what's going on. You can see when I post the YouTube videos, and this will be later on this one today, a link to the newsletter that you can get if you don't normally get my newsletter. And if you open that and you want to subscribe, go to the upper right-hand side. It's very obvious where you can subscribe, and then you'll get your own in your email. And that will tell you also how to get on, like all my attendees today clicked on the links to get onto the Zoom to actually do this live. And a lot of people are taking advantage of the fact that they can just see them, listen to them later on. So anyway, vitamin K. Also, we're going to be talking a little bit, if I have time, about if I just would stop and ranting and get on with my topic, I might have a better chance of that. But miso, we think of miso soup, but very, very helpful. So we'll get to that as well. Let me get mine open. Oh, actually, what I need to do is not open it. I need to, go here and hit that. And off we go. So I say here, and this is going to probably ring a bell with with several of you out there or somebody in your family. Recently, 3 different people came to me with reports of a high score on a calcium scan. Anybody had a calcium scan or had a calcium scan, recommended, perhaps? And we'll talk about what those are and why they're becoming more and more frequent that people are getting or being recommended from their doctors that they get a calcium scan as an evaluation for their cardiovascular health. For detection of cardiovascular disease risk factors, the scan is a very useful tool, far better than the standard lipid panel, think cholesterol, since calcium deposits are the primary constituent of arterial plaque. And that's actually a good thing, because if we know what the actual problem is, we know better what to do about it, to prevent it, ideally, and much better to prevent and then even to try to, if we are already in that situation, reverse. And that I would say that across the board for anything I'm talking about, whatever illness, barring something like that somebody's born with, like cystic fibrosis or something. I'm not saying there's no hope for that, but I'm just saying diseases that people get, right? Like heart disease, like diabetes, like cancer, like Alzheimer's, that kind of thing, Parkinson's. So how did calcium manage to find a way to settle down in the arteries anyway? Can I prevent that from happening? Yes. If it has already happened, can it be reversed? So that's kind of where I'm going today, kind of exactly where I'm going today. That's going to be that. And then I said that on another topic, I recently became intrigued about the health properties of a delicious food that comes from fermented soy, marvelous miso. And now there's some recipes. You always have to have recipes, right? Oh, after last week's show on pumpkin, I was supposed to stay here and finish my, don't worry, this afternoon is a work program. My husband's here setting up different shelving, and Mary's coming in this afternoon. We have so many things we have to remake to be out on the shelf. We've changed our bath bars to it. It's really exciting. We're doing so many exciting things, but we're like nearly out of Wondrous Nose. We have to make more eggplant sauve. I have to finish off the fig cream, which is actually, you can find on my website now, and it will be available, if you ordered it, you'd get it. Kathy, I'm still sending you a sample, like I promised. But I'll talk to you more about that privately. Okay. Not about the sending it, but just its application to you. All right. Now everybody's really curious. Okay. So anyway, I was so intrigued with the pumpkin thing. I went home, and instead of, staying here and working through the afternoon, I went home and I made the creamy pumpkin soup and the pumpkin muffins. And then the next day, that recipe wasn't there, but the next day I saw a recipe for chicken pumpkin chili. And I made that because every week I buy these split chicken breasts. And up until now, which is frozen, but I can still go out to the garden and get sage and rosemary. They'll still be fine. The mint will probably still be, well, probably not. But anyway, I get that and I put all vegetables in, and I always cook chicken breasts so that we have cooked chicken to do something with if we want to do it. So that's what happened on Sunday. I did that Saturday with the other cooking. And then made this chicken pumpkin chili that was really delicious. And in fact, to the point that busy weekdays, we ate it like the next 3 nights as well. I just made more muffins, pumpkin muffins, like this Wednesday night or something like that. Anyway, so I was really into the cooking mood, but I didn't want to cook no sauve or plantain sauve or even fig cream. I was into the pumpkin. So, and on that topic, oh, wow, I'm really wasting a lot of time, aren't I, getting into this one? But let me tell you, Dale sent me this morning, he saw a Huffington Post piece that in your canned pumpkin, is canned pumpkin really pumpkin? And I was like, oh no, what have I been eating? Well, it's not that it's junk or that it's not food. It just might not be the pumpkin you think it is. It might not be and probably isn't the pumpkin that you see at Halloween. It's a different kind of pumpkin, or it's a different squash, a gourd of some kind. So I looked at the canned pumpkin that I have, which is, all it says on the label is 100% organic pumpkin, but it didn't give me the variety of pumpkin. So anyway, there you go. There's a little tidbit from last week, a little holdover. Okay, let's go. Okay. All right, first, vitamin K1, K2, what's the difference, right? So I'm going to go there and just get into that a little bit. Vitamin K1 is well known for its role in blood clotting, but you may not know that its name actually refers to a group of several vitamins that provide health benefits far beyond helping your blood clot. This article will review this particular one. The differences between the 2 main forms of vitamin K found in the human diet, vitamin K1 and vitamin K2. It says here that vitamin K was accidentally discovered in the 1920s and 1930s after restricted diets in animals led to excessive bleeding. All right, so this is the connection between vitamin K and why you can't have it if you're on, Coumadin, warfarin, because people use Coumadin as a blood thinner. And as a blood thinner, you don't want too much. That's why people on this, they have other blood thinners now. I think they're using more frequently, Eliquis being one of them, which works differently and doesn't have a K2 issue with it. But a lot of people are still on Coumadin and go to the Coumadin clinic, and you kind of have to get your INR tested every, week or every other week to make sure that you're in that you're not bleeding, you're not too clotty and you're not too fluid. And, but people prescribed that medication are told you can't have foods with vitamin K. Well, vitamin K foods are like all the healthy foods, not all the healthy foods, but a lot of healthy foods, and especially greens. The vitamin K foods are, in vegetables and things like that. So you have these people who have health problems. They're on a blood thinner, and now we're going to further impair their their health, because they can't eat nutritious foods. And then that's the reason people on Coumadin have a higher rate of heart attack. Can you believe that? So who's on Coumadin? Somebody with atrial fibrillation, a lot of times. Okay, you have atrial fibrillation, your heart goes out of rhythm. So let's get you on Coumadin, because as you're going in and out of cardio rhythm, you could throw a clot and have a stroke. So we'll put you on a blood thinner for the rest of your life so that that doesn't happen. But now you can't have vitamin K. And vitamin K is super important for helping keep calcium out of your arteries. Do you see where I'm kind of going here? This is getting really like how these things connect. So now you can't have vitamin K. And now guess what? More calcium builds up in your arteries, and you're ripe for the picking to have a heart attack. Oh, but you didn't have a stroke. Okay. Right? See where we're getting failed here in some of these mainstream type approaches to these problems. So anyway, there are several different types of vitamin K. The two most often found in the human diet are vitamin K1 and vitamin K2. Vitamin K1, also called phyloquinone, is most often in plant foods like leafy green vegetables. It's like, wow, I hated those vegetables anyway, but now my doctor tells me I can never have them. Oh, sorry. Okay. Most people don't feel that way, though. Most people I know who are on Coumadin would like to eat those, but can't. It also it makes up about 75 to 90% of all vitamin K consumed by humans. So that right there is, it's just, wow. That takes out so many things. I hate that. I hate restrictions, dietary restrictions, except when it comes to the bad stuff. Vitamin K2 is found in fermented foods and animal products and is also produced by, how come I can't scroll down here? Okay. And is also produced by, in the gut, by gut bacteria, right? So there's another reason you got to keep your microbiome balanced. We talked about that a few weeks ago with the prebiotics, probiotics, and SACBU program. It has several subtypes called menaquinones, MKs, that are named by the length of their chain. They range from MK4 to MK13. So what I'm going to say is that might right there, just to save time, so I'm not reading, but I'll just tell you, MK4 is menatrinone, and MK7 is menaquinone, and they're good to use together because MK4 is taken up very rapidly, but it doesn't stick that long. MK7 taken up less rapidly, but lasts a good long time. So supplement that I have here for vitamin K is vitamin K1 plus some K4, some vitamin K2 in the form of K4 and K7. It's really kind of a perfect way to go. So anyway, food sources of vitamin K1, kale, collard greens, spinach, turnip greens, broccoli, Brussels sprouts. Those are, but it goes down the whole, it's not just those, right? Food sources of vitamin K2. One subtype, MK4, is found in some animal products and the only form not produced by bacteria. Chicken, egg yolks, and butter are good sources of MK4. So again, this isn't all about plant-based, is it? This is the whole reason for the whole diet. You take diets that just cut out part of, and just to argue my point here, if you look at every traditional cuisine, none of them cut out whole food groups. Like a lot of our diets today, whether it be vegan, vegetarian, or keto, or you name it, or carnivore, and that cuts out just about everything but meat and water. But and there are times when medicinally, for medical purposes, those diets can be employed, such as recalcitrant epilepsy. But that keto diet is very different than the keto diets you're thinking of, like South Beach and Atkins and the Whole30, that kind of thing. We're talking more about the diet has to be mainly fat. And that's not great for overall health, but for somebody who's seizing, 24/7 and can't get relief with. So that's a very different thing, right? Another thing would be the carnivore diet for somebody who really cannot. And I've had a client who this is the case, and I've heard of others cannot really tolerate any other foods, but that's a problem with things that too bad that they can't be fixed. But that restriction also brings with it a whole restriction of nutrients that you can't get from those things. So all I'm saying is there are times for restrictive diets. My main restriction recommendations in diets is processed foods, sugars, and I mean sugars as sugars appear in processed foods, and eating junk and eating too many sweets, not natural sugars, excluding fruits or excluding maple syrup or excluding honey, of course, everything in moderation, but I love whole diets. But anyway, Natto, a popular Japanese dish made from fermented soybeans, is particularly high in MK7, and that's the one that sticks with you for a long time. Now, I want to say about that too. Natto, we get nattokinase from that, which is a proteolytic enzyme, but also fermented soybean is also what miso is, right? And so we're talking about miso. There's a little bit of an overlap there when we think about that. So certain hard and soft cheeses are also good sources of K2 in the form of MK8 and MK9. Additionally, a recent study discovered several pork products contain vitamin K2 as MK10 and MK11. The vitamin K2 content for 3.5 ounces of several foods is listed below. Natto, pork sausage, hard cheeses, pork chop, chicken, soft cheeses, egg yolk. Okay, that's enough. Okay, in the body. The differences. The main function of all types of vitamin K is to activate proteins that serve important roles in blood clotting, heart health, and bone health. Heart health is extremely related to bone health. And the very great thing is that addressing one properly addresses the other. Okay, I need these things for my bones, but they're going to address the thing with the heart. I need these things for my heart, they're going to address my bones. Isn't that great? Okay. However, because of differences in absorption and transport to tissues throughout the body, vitamin K1 and K2 could have profoundly different effects on your health. In general, the vitamin K1 found in plants is poorly absorbed by the body. One study estimated that less than 10% of K1 found in plants is actually absorbed. Oh, let me just see this. Just have a message here. I'm just reading my message from Vitaly. Oh, what a great message. Thank you, Vitaly. That's great. And everybody can see that in the chat. Okay. So now I'm telling you, you can't eat all these leafy greens, and they're saying, well, guess what? You don't get very much from them anyway. Well, if that's the case, then why do they have to restrict them? Maybe that should be a good point in the medicine world. Well, you can't absorb it anyway. Because vitamin K is a fat-soluble vitamin. Fat-soluble vitamins are much better absorbed when eating with dietary fat. See, that's what a meal has, right? You don't eat your greens and then wait an hour. Well, you have a salad first, right? But you put dressing on it. Usually people put dressing on salad. Do you see where I'm going here with the idea that you can't absorb vitamin K from your leafy greens, your leafy vegetables without fat? Well, there you go. There's an argument for the fat. See, it's all about balance. Okay. Vitamin K and blood clotting. Several proteins involved in blood clotting depend on vitamin K to get their job done. Blood clotting can sound like a bad thing, and sometimes it is, yet without it, you could bleed excessively and end up dying from an even major injury. Some people have blood clotting disorders and take a medication, blah, 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 although most of this intake food sources of vitamin K. Okay, so vitamin K and bone health. I think I'm going to skip on from this, vitamin K and heart health, although most controlled studies. Okay, I think I'm going to leave this one because I've got so much more information on here to go with. And I want to, okay, coronary artery calcium test. I'm not going to read that one. I'm just going to tell you, it's a scan, right? And they go in and you can see pictures there. You can go in and see that they look and see for the calcium. So how has medicine been approaching cardiovascular health, generally speaking, since I've known about it, is through cholesterol screening. And cholesterol screening, oh my goodness, you're going to have buildup of plaque, which is very misleading. And the vast majority of plaque is calcium and very little cholesterol content in plaque. There's only one form of cholesterol that causes damage to the arteries, and that's called small particle LDL or LPA. And the way that is rectified is by eating saturated fat, which makes the small particle LDL nice and fluffy and harmless. Not what you hear, right, from your drug companies. Not what you're hearing at all from the drug companies. So just want to say about that, right. So they'll look and they'll see if you have calcium buildup. And then that can be a real problem. They don't scan everyone. And the reason they say that is, let me just go here. What is a coronary calcium scan? Who might need one? It's a scan, a type of CT scan of the heart. It measures calcium in the walls of the coronary arteries and can detect the early signs of heart disease. A score of 0 is typical. A higher score may indicate heart disease. They don't, at this point in time, really recommend them for everyone who doesn't already seem at risk for cardiovascular things, although I think it's becoming more prevalent in just overall, say, maybe a physical for maybe somebody like, I think it's getting more standard in guys and when they go for their physical, around age 40, 50, that kind of thing. Those they recommend who should have one or those with a family history of heart disease, obesity, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, smoking, high levels of stress. They're not always useful, it says, though. For example, if a person has a very low risk of heart disease, the test is unlikely to show anything. Some people like that, though, just to know, hey, I don't have a problem there. People who already have heart disease do not need to have this scan because it will only confirm what they already know, and their doctors will not discover anything new. I will not say that's true, though, because they do use a little bit of a different approach if they know the coronary calcium is high. So anyway. So let's go here to vitamin K2 and arterial calcification. This is an article from Life Extension. Okay, I don't want to sign up for your emails. I already get them. Vitamin K2 and arterial calcification. Atherosclerosis is thickening and hardening of the arteries. As plaque accumulates inside the arteries, blood flows to the heart, brain, and other organs are diminished or blocked. So that's not good. And then let me just do one thing here. Excuse me. Occlusive, blocking. Atherosclerosis is an underlying cause of many heart attacks and strokes. An underlying factor is arterial calcification. It is a phenomenon tightly associated with cardiovascular events and overall mortality. Deposition of calcium crystals into arteries can be impeded, okay? So this can be stopped because in my reading, it doesn't look like if you are really loaded with arterial calcium that vitamin K is going to take care of it. It's going to help, but I'll tell you, there's a little hint, and I will get to this. What does? And I'm not saying that the vitamin K doesn't do, but I'm just saying if you're already chock full of this stuff, magnesium, and potassium, especially in citrate form, also excellent for the bones. But I'll get there. All right. Vitamin K1, K2, we talked about that. Atherosclerosis. Okay, we talked about that. This is where vitamin K2 plays a pivotal role. Vitamin K2 activates a specific protein called osteocalcin. Activated osteocalcin binds to bone minerals, helping to incorporate them into bone structure. In an animal model, activated osteocalcin also reduced arterial stiffness. So do you see that? This is what you need to be doing, especially if you don't have these problems. If you do have these problems, definitely do it, all the more. But I'm just saying, this is the beauty of prevention. This is when you have so much more power than you think than you know you do. Because here you've got vitamin K2 that is helping to soften the arteries by removing calcium deposit. But where does that calcium go? It goes into the bones where you need it, and not in the arteries where you don't want it. And this is why I do not favor calcium supplementation. I mean, I'm talking like, ridiculous calcium supplementation. If you have osteoporosis and osteopenia, I can just bet you've been told that you need to take 1,200 milligrams of calcium a day. That's what you need for your bones, calcium. This is such an ignorant understanding of bone health. I'm sorry, but it just really is. Most of us have plenty of calcium. It's just not where it's supposed to be, and it's where it's not supposed to be. So anyway, in a human study, higher levels of active osteocalcin were associated with a lower progression rate of arterial calcification and a lower rate of mortality. How do we get that osteocalcin activated? That's vitamin K2. And that shows a lower progression rate of arterial calcification and lower rate of mortality, death. Osteocalcin, along with other another vitamin K dependent protein called GAS, just like the stuff, spelled like the stuff you put in your car, 6, acts as an inhibitor of vascular calcification. Okay. In addition, so we've got the osteocalcin, but now we've got this other protein activated by vitamin K, 2, and that's GAS6, an inhibitor of vascular calcification. In addition, active GAS6 protects against endothelial dysfunction. So that endothelium of your arteries, right? That's the top layer. Another driver of cardiovascular disease and atherosclerosis. So this endothelial dysfunction, the insides of your arteries not functioning as they're supposed to. Vitamin K2 is also required to activate a protein called matrix GLA protein, or MGP. MGP is a strong inhibitor of calcification in soft tissues, including blood vessels. Calcification can happen in other soft tissues, such as the brain and the urinary tract. It can be involved in frequent urination problems and stuff like that. So this is like a one-stop shop, right? Like osteocalcin, once activated, MGP binds to calcium and escorts it out of blood vessels. The inactive form of MGP is generally regarded as biomarker of vitamin K deficiency and risk of vascular calcification. Mice that are missing the gene for MGP die prematurely due to massive amounts of calcification in the arteries. That is super cool. Human studies, low vitamin K2 levels have consistently shown a link to poor cardiovascular health. Researchers associated low levels of vitamin K2 with arterial stiffness, more severe blood vessel calcification, calcification of the heart valves, and heart failure. Wow. It's so complicated, right? But it's not. But it's complicated, but it's not complicated to fix if you know how. That's what I love. That's what I love about this stuff. It's not, when you're fixing things with these simple measures, dietary measures, or adding supplements to your routine, when you're doing that, it's simple to do. It's very easy. You just know to do it and do it. But what you're doing is very complex. It's hugely complicated. But we don't even have to know the complication in order to benefit. We don't have to know the benefit. We don't have to know the complication at all. If we just do it, we will still, without understanding, get those good results. On the other hand, the end result is a higher and faster progression of cardiovascular disease and increased rate of death due to any cause. On the other hand, that's when they say increased mortality, that's what they mean. They're not talking about increased cardiovascular mortality. If they're just saying from, so all cause mortality, that's all cause death. On the other hand, increased intake of vitamin K2 is associated with improved cardiovascular health. There are some key findings from the scientific literature. Epidemiological studies suggest that higher intake of vitamin K is linked to lower rates of cardiovascular disease, cardiovascular-related death, and death from any cause. Higher intake of vitamin K2 is associated with reduced calcification in the coronary arteries and lower risk of cardiovascular disease. See, this is why we don't use vitamin D without K2. And I always make sure the clients I'm working with personally that we, and myself, that we're not taking one without the other. In the Thorne basic nutrients that I use for my 2 per day, well, that's the name of it, Thorne basic nutrients 2 per day. It's 2 capsules per day, but they call it that. That's the name of it. Has 2,000 international units of vitamin D3, and it has K2 and K1 combined. And then for people taking extra D3 or just taking D3 by itself, if you're out there and you're just supplementing with D, I take a D. No, not just D3 and K2. So you either buy a combo or you get one of one and one of the other. Intake of vitamin K2 rich natto was associated with less cardiovascular related death in a large Japanese population. Increased intake of vitamin K2 may help to improve arterial stiffness and heart function, reduce incidence of type 2 diabetes, there you go, and reduce calcification of heart valves. Okay, so we go on there. Anyway, very exciting, very exciting. We have more power than we know. We can jump right in there and just take care of things. And, we don't have to feel helpless, and we don't have to wring our hands, and we don't have to, not that there isn't a place for doctors, but when we're told certain things, we don't have to think that this is all there is, right? So that's a big problem in the modern world of medicine. Not that it doesn't have its place, it does, but so many times people are told there's nothing you can do. And that often means, so Debbie is asking, is it true that K and D should be taken a few hours apart because they compete for absorption? I don't know. I would doubt it because that's the way it's typically done. And it's also how the diet would bring things in. We don't separate, eat your K foods now and your foods containing vitamin D later. I would say that that's not true, but I will have to look that up and get back. And I will. So good question. Thank you. Okay. All right. Vitamin K2 and arterial. So then we actually have, I'm going to jump past, I have talking about magnesium, how this helps as well, and potassium citrate. So we'll maybe jump back to that, but vitamin K2 and osteoporosis. So again, we touched on that a little bit. This is a really good article I found by this man, here it comes, Dr. Neville Wilson, and vitamin K2 and osteoporosis, a non-pharmacological approach to the management of osteoporosis. He goes on about that. He says, skeletal bones are living tissue and in a constant state of renewal, with old bone cells being dissolved by osteoclasts and new bone cells being laid down by osteoblasts. Osteoclasts, cast, right? You can say that, cast out. And then new bone cells by osteoblasts. See, if I had to take a test or something, that's the kind of thing I'd tell myself. So when I'd remember, oh yeah, you blast it, you blast new bone cells. Anyway. The synergistic activity of the osteoclast and the osteoblast enables remodeling of bone tissue and structural integrity for the entire skeletal system. While it is well established that calcium and vitamin D, an active form of prerequisites for newborn bone formation, public and professional awareness is scant regarding the important role that vitamin K2 has in protecting bones against brittle decay. I am humbly trying to add to the public and professional awareness of this very, very important piece of information. All right. Emerging scientific evidence is strong, not only for the protective role of vitamin K2 in bone health, but also for its capacity to reverse arterial calcification and provide protection against atherosclerosis. Again, both ends, a risk for cardiovascular disease. Vitamin K2 is essential for regulating calcium balance in the body and improving bone mineral density. Osteoblasts remodel the cavities created by osteoclasts by laying down calcium in response to osteocalcin and vitamin K2 activity. Osteocalcin is one of 3 identified, blah, 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 Just okay. Vitamin K2 secures bone integrity by turning off excess osteoclast activity. Okay, so too much of the getting rid of. And by supporting the action of osteocalcin by drawing calcium from the blood and importing it into the bone tissue, right? Instead of it going into your arteries, settling down, setting up a tent in your arteries. Drug therapy talks about that, risk for developing. Anyway, so that is very, very important. So I think that's all I'm going to say on that. You can always read, you have my newsletter. Just go if you want to read more about those in those articles. I want to go here, though, to back up to magnesium counteracts vascular calcification. Over the last decade, an increasing number of studies report a close relationship between serum magnesium concentration and cardiovascular disease risk in the general population. In end-stage renal disease, an association was found between serum magnesium and survival. Hypomagnesia, low magnesium, was identified as a strong predictor for cardiovascular disease in these patients. A substantial body of in vitro and in vivo studies has identified a protective role for magnesium in vascular calcification. Going to go there a little bit. This was published in, this comes from atherosclerotic thrombosis vascular biology journal. Yeah, anyway. I'm not going to read that. I'm just going to say you can look at it if you're there, but magnesium. Now, I'm going to tell you as well what I think is a good combination, because some of the way we end up with this excess calcium is from oxalates. And we've talked about oxalates in the diet. Oxalates can precipitate out and cause problems with kidney stones. We use kidneys, I use, this is what I recommend based on this kind of science, a potassium and magnesium citrate supplement to prevent that from happening. So it's very important for prevention of kidney stones. If a person is prone to getting kidney stones, yes, to be taking a potassium and magnesium citrate supplement. It's not the only magnesium that you would necessarily need or use. Although if you took adequate amounts of that, I think that would be fine. Magnesium citrate is great. But these are super important for dissolving that type of calcification. So it only makes sense, right, that this would be helpful in your arteries as well. Just dissolving that stuff. And you need those things. And magnesium is so vital for cardiovascular health, for preventing atrial fibrillation, for the relaxation provided, the muscle relaxant aspect of magnesium versus the contractility part of calcium. Just wait one moment. Okay, here's a good question. There are about 6 forms of magnesium, and a human body requires all of them for optimal functioning. Would you confirm that, and whether supplementation schedule should include all 6 types of magnesium daily? Or one could go through these 6 types of magnesium supplements on a round-robin rotation schedule. So there are actually more forms than 6, I would say. And we kind of tend to lean towards using the forms that fit the individual best. For instance, if a person I always add a different magnesium along with magnesium L-threonate for brain issues. And I also will have people use other form of magnesium, such as I have a combination here of magnesium malate and glycinate. So the magnesium forms are really what they're bound to, right? So magnesium threonate is bound to magnesium and I think it's called threonic acid. Magnesium glycinate is bound to glycine. Magnesium malate is bound to malic acid, and on it goes. And so magnesium taurate is bound to taurine. We tend to use that form of magnesium, particularly for people with heart issues. We use the malate for people with, muscular kind of things, glycine for people who need more rest and relaxation. And having a combination is good, but I don't think you have to get, as long as you're supplementing with good forms of magnesium. When I say that, I mean not oxide, because oxide is not very well absorbed at all. Calcium chloride is excellent, very well absorbed. It's good to get, magnesium chloride is very well absorbed. And it's good to get varied kinds, but I think in supplement form, the main thing is making sure you're getting enough magnesium, and then assuming that magnesium coming from food supply and things like that, a well-rounded diet is balancing that out, if that makes any sense. That's how I would look at it, but make sure magnesium is something you must supplement with to be getting adequate doses. So, potassium and calcium balance. Yes, this is another thing. I'm just going to go there quickly. This is in another journal of Bone Mineral. I don't know. They're always, abbreviated. So I don't know exactly what it stands for, but this was published in 2014. And it says here, the upshot was readily available, safe, and easily administered in an oral form. Potassium citrate has the potential to improve skeletal health. So I think that that's really excellent. And again, it's sort of that whole thing again with getting the calcium out of the areas they're not supposed to be and helping them settle down into the areas we want them to be. And it's not that hard to do. And Jean says, I take D3 and K2. Is that the right combo? And Debbie asks, how much K to D? Yes, that is the right combo. How much K to D should you take? The ratio. That's not exactly a ratio. So you want to make sure you're getting about at least 100 micrograms of vitamin K a day. Vitamin K2, you would want to have about 100 micrograms. But taking more D doesn't mean you have to take that much more by ratio vitamin K, K2. Does that make sense? So you don't have to do it that way. But I do think a little more K is better. And I'm going to be adding, we have the Super K, Life Extension Super K supplement that is K1 and K2 in the two forms, MK4 and MK7. And I'm just simply going to add one more of those to my daily regimen because I'm impressed with vitamin K and I just want to. I'm not saying everybody has to, but I'm going to do that. But again, you don't have to say, I'm taking a D3 K2 supplement, 5,000 IUs of D3 and 100 micrograms of K2. And then can I take some extra D3? Do I have to take the same extra amount? No, you don't. Is how I understand it. Okay. Miso. And I have this, I didn't have a chance, but when I came in, I was going to grab my container of miso paste that I keep here at the office because after learning this, miso is something that's really a really quick, nourishing, something you can eat like a broth. And so if you have the miso paste, you can do that. Miso, let's talk about that. This comes from Green Med Info, one of my favorite websites for information. Whoops. Humble miso soup may have saved lives when the atomic bomb was dropped on. Just have a drink of water here. Hang on. On Nagasaki. Science now confirms miso prevents radiation injury. It may also, does it do anything for my froggy throat? It may also prevent cancer and hypertension. Okay, that's another big problem. Both of those are big problems. When the second atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki on August 9th, 1945, 21 healthcare workers were attending 70 tuberculosis patients in a hospital 1.4 kilometers from ground zero. None of them suffered from acute radiation poisoning. That's phenomenal. Dr. Tachiochiro Akazuki, a physician at the hospital, credited this miracle to the fact that everyone was consuming daily cups of miso soup garnished with wakame seedweed. Whoa. In a new comprehensive review of both epidemiological and experimental studies, Japanese researcher Hiromitsu Watanabe from the Research Institute for Radiation Biology and Medicine at Hiroshima University confirms the power of miso to prevent radiation injury. His review also documents the ability of miso to prevent many forms of cancer: colon, liver, breast, lung, and stomach. And it's delicious. Don't put it in the microwave, right? Have I gone off on the microwave here on you before? A lot of you have heard me say this, but the microwave energy was designed to destroy the genetic integrity of substances so that they could be manipulated, and it totally changes the nutritional structure. So don't go get yourself some nice organic miso and then pop it in the microwave to heat it up. No. You take some time and boil your water, and then pour it over. Or like here at work, we've got a bubbler that does that for me. Now, that's really easy. If you're in a rush, you can just put a plop of paste in there and stir it up. And okay. Miso, or fermented soybean paste, is a traditional staple of the Japanese diet. Soybeans are fermented and with sea salt, koji, a mold starter, and sometimes rice, wheat, oats, or other grain. The mixture is fermented for 3 months to 3 years. The resulting enzyme-rich paste contains vitamins, microorganisms, salts, minerals, plant proteins, carbohydrates, and fat. But fermented foods are more than the sum of their ingredients. Fermentation gives rise to compounds that have amazing healing benefits. Fermented foods like kimchi, natto, apple cider vinegar, and even wine and beer have been called medical foods. Anyway, miso protects against radiation injury. Let's go to the breast cancer thing. According to one epidemiological study, consuming a cup of miso 3 times a day. That's easy to do. You buy it in paste, and again, it just comes in a container. And I like just the plain miso. I don't want to be eating tofu. Sometimes you get the little packets and they have tofu already in them. I don't want tofu all the time. But the miso is very different because miso is fermented soy, and the phytate we don't want is broken down. But you want it to be non-GMO as well, right? We want it to be organic because soy is really, if it's not, is one of the most polluted crops in our country. It says, according to Watanabe, this investigation clearly indicates that miso can reduce the occurrence of breast tumors as effectively as tamoxifen at the beginning of cancer treatment, and can also suppress the number of tumors. Miso prevents liver tumors. Miso prevents gastric tumors. So in the stomach, eating miso soup on a daily basis might reduce the risk of stomach cancer. The rate and growth and size of gastric tumors in the groups fed miso, blah, 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 protects against hypertension. And regardless of the fact that miso is considered high in sodium, although miso's antihypertensive action is not fully understood, these results indicate that salt in miso operates differently from the salt that we're thinking of normally, sodium, at least in the cases of gastric tumors and blood pressure. And how to get miso's health benefits: dissolve a teaspoon of miso in hot water for a quick light soup broth. Add miso to dipping sauces for spring rolls, other things, raw vegetables, mix with vinegar, olive oil, ginger. So if you go to make, I've got recipes there. And I have the short ribs with spicy sauce, shredded chicken salad with creamy miso dressing, and you can make that dressing for all kinds of things, right? Pecan, miso, butter, and jelly sandwiches. Okay, Jean, I've got to just answer Jean. I have K2 low dose, 45 micrograms. That does not sound like enough. I take one per day. I'm ordering today, so this is good timing. Yeah, get one that's higher dose or take more of them, I would say. But I agree with you on that, Jean. Pecan miso butter and jelly sandwiches. Sweet potato turmeric miso soup. Oh boy, that sounds great. I'm such in a soup mode. Elemental miso soup. So that's like a clear, more of a clear broth. And then just say plain dressing. Well, not plain, but I mean a dressing that you can just make to have like you would your own homemade salad dressings. Sesame miso vinaigrette. So yeah, there we go. That takes us through the program, and it is 1:01. I ran over by 1 minute, but this isn't radio, so I didn't just get all cut off with the top of the news hour. That's kind of fun too. Then I don't have to worry about that. But I want to thank you all who have joined me today. I thank you for the questions and interaction. That's been great. And for those watching for the first time on YouTube, I hope you enjoy. And if you have any questions or whatever, you can always get to me. Go to email me if you because a lot of you have that, and then or you can reach out to me from contact us at wondrousroots.org. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and weekend. Don't forget to set your clocks back, fall back, as they tell us we have to. So we just do. Otherwise, we'll be off for everything we do in life will be 1 hour off. Okay. Take care. Go to health.